All right, there we go. Okay, so I had a couple questions to ask about the project plan that's due this weekend. So I was curious, like the contents that we're supposed to have in it. Like, so we're supposed to have our requirements and everything like that. And I did go through the reading, and I saw what was part of it and everything. Do we need to um, basically have like a full-on like project plan of how like what our requirements are, how we're gonna execute it, and what are the tasks we're gonna do, and everything like that, and like kind of like our meeting plan and everything, or do we need is it a little more loose and like less detailed than that, or like what do
Now,
we need to put in it?
you can be adding detail along the way, but the things that you ought to be focusing on that should be there already, or if not close to being done. You should have the project description, project name, the team name, the roles and responsibilities of all the team members, a project schedule by task, whatever tasks you gotta, and this is something you guys come up with as a team. The deliverables, the when they're going to be due. I don't necessarily need anything due, for instance, tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Sunday. Okay. I I hold you accountable for the plan you put together. I know the school. I know the module has some kind of dates that they kind of focus on,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have the modules in front of me to know what the required date is, uh, but I don't go by that uh, for these projects. I go by what you and your team submit.
Okay.
So we should have a budget. Just make something up, based on what you guys think the costs of the development for your project's going to be. That's really the first. That's what I think they call DevOps outline. Okay, you should start talking about the requirements, but the requirements to me are should take a little time to flesh out. And if you any of your team members were at my
I was
last
there. Yes, I was there.
yeah, discussion, they should be detailed and everyone should be testable. That takes a little time and effort on everybody's part. The way that I recommend you guys handle it is the team come up with a high level requirements. Let's say, for sake of argument, you have 9 high level requirements. Each of you should take 3 of those, 2 or 3 or whatever, and do the flushing out. And whoever your documentation person is, collect them and put them in the document in the appropriate spot. Okay, because the requirements do take a little time. Technically, I'm not saying that people don't violate this; they do all the time because they get anxious because of the due dates. But technically, you shouldn't even be working on design on any part of the design where the requirement hasn't been approved. If the
Mm-hmm.
requirement is approved, then you can start the design, even if the other requirements aren't 100% completed. So you can do the requirements and the design kind of like in a waterfall or agile fashion
I
type
see.
thing.
Okay.
You don't have to do all the requirements and then do all the design and then do all the coding.
Yeah, I was speaking with my team about that in like a waterfall method. That's usually what you do. It's all sequential, so you have to define everything from the beginning and then you start everything, designing everything and all that. And that's a little difficult with this because we don't really have a good representation of what we want. We're kind of more in an agile situation where, we learn
Sure.
as we go and we design
Well,
and add things that we
yeah.
like.
Well, and in my time frame, when I worked for the government, plus, we were dealing with a big project. We did the waterfall. Okay. But even within the waterfall, even within the requirement line of the waterfall,
Mm-hmm.
there were like maybe 6 or 7 sublines under requirements
Hmm.
that we would go. So as soon as we had a set of requirements that did not walk on or be walked on by other requirements, I would approve I would approve those for release. And then they would go to the design team. And as soon as the designs for those were approved, it go to the coding team. We might still have another 5 sets of requirements
Hmm.
being worked on, but those are at least being moved forward.
I see.
So things
Okay.
like navigation, menu, report formats, screen layouts, a lot of that stuff, I used to refer to as the low hanging fruit. So we would start those. We wouldn't wait until some of the hard stuff, like the heavy duty. Uh, one of the things we did was satellite navigation triangulation. Well, those algorithms are not trivial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, uh, you need people that have backgrounds in geospatial algorithms and math and whatever. It takes some time for them. Well, I'm not going to have the menu guys wait until those eggheads finish up and decide how they're going to best figure out where a missile's going, what the trajectory is. So, yeah, so even in a waterfall, you have incrementalness. So agile is not so far away
Hmm.
from waterfall, like the a lot of the documentation tries to make it sound. It's they make it
Yeah, like the
sound like,
Scrum and Kanban and all that. Yeah.
yeah, like it's night and day, and it really isn't. If you put a little common sense to all these models, then there's all kind of flexibility you have.
Okay.
And that's why I don't hold the key to a particular strategy or textbook approach.
Okay.
What I'm looking for and what the industry is looking for is success. Deliver the thing when you say you're going to do it, even if you're a little bit late. At least deliver it for the amount of money you said.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, within reason. As long as the requirements don't change, then you are more responsible for the budget than you are for the schedule. So, because schedule sometimes, like the network is down for 4 days, so you lose 4 days. Okay, a good project manager will take those four people or take those people and have them do something else that doesn't chew up those project dollars.
Mm-hmm. I see.
So, money that doesn't become the shortfall, but you're probably going to be late by a few days. Well, that's okay. I mean, it's not really okay, but it's understandable. But to have people cutting holes in the carpet and chewing up the dollars and say, "Hey, man, listen, I've lost 4 days, so I need another $10,000." That that doesn't go well with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next question.
All right. Yeah. So here you can. I'm screen sharing right now, and we've put together actually 9 or 10 requirements of our page. A lot of it's visual, like web development, HTML, CSS, JavaScript level stuff, because that's primarily what our project is going to be. It's going to be a website. So yeah. So here we've got like um, what do you call it? A requirement? One of the requirements is like the range scroll bar, which is going to be allow us to sift through all the different stages um, of the pregnancy state of the weekly pregnancy pictures, and the fruit comparison to that. And so here we defined all of our requirements. Like the range will be from 0 to 40 weeks. The font type, the font size, location, length, arrow key use, the cursor shape. Is that kind of the level of detail that you're looking for
Well,
in the requirements, or?
absolutely,
Okay.
because what's the key word that I said during the telephone conference? It
Testable.
starts with a T as in tango.
Testable.
Testable. Very good. Good memory. Everything that I've seen so far, I kind of scrolled around while you were talking, is testable. Font size is testable. It's easy. You highlight over it, and it says, "Oh, that's Helvetica 12." Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
font size. It should be 12. Font type should say Helvetica. If the font's supposed to be red, you look at it and say, "Yeah, that's red," as opposed to green or yellow. Very testable. It's very non-subjective, right? It's black and white. That's
Mm-hmm.
what you need, because you will get an argument with the client if it's at that level. Now, if they don't like black, that's fine, and they didn't tell you I needed blue, and they say, "Hey, I really wanted blue." You say, "Fine." You change black to blue, and you move on. But it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't become a contest as to, well, this is what I meant, or that's not what I said, right? It becomes very, very discreet.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, thank you. That helps a lot. All right, so then we'll keep on the path we're doing right now for the requirements, and we even got started on some networking requirements like the server type, the server configuration. I'm not exactly sure how we'll go about like specific requirements for the server, but I specified maybe like server files, like we'll have an HTML file, a CSS file, JavaScript file, stuff like that.
Well, those aren't, yes. So let me interject here. Those are not requirements. Those are
Okay.
design features. Okay.
Oh,
A,
okay.
okay. So here's the kind of requirements. I mean, it might be a requirement, but the way you described them, they were not. So
Okay.
maybe you didn't need to describe them that way. Okay. But here's everything I've seen so far is a functional requirement. It's what the user will see, like the font size, whatever. Okay? You
Okay.
do have you do have things like system requirements. Like for instance, if I tell you, if say the guys that architected the thing said for instance, hang on for a second. Okay, so now it might somebody might, and you could really put this under the thing of constraint, but it would be a requirement. If I tell you that, hey, your application has to run, which is the world that I used to live in the 70s and 80s, and they told me this application has to run in 4K.
Hmm.
People don't even know what the hell 4K is anymore, but but it's like a pimple on a gnat size memory wise. Okay, that becomes now a technical requirement. Okay, which to me sounds like a constraint, but I would put it under technical requirement.
Hmm.
You might have legal administrative requirements, legal requirements. Okay,
Hmm.
a legal requirement would be something that like or a security requirement. See, those aren't really functional. The client doesn't call you up and say, "Hey, uh, by the way, this thing has to be ADA compliant." ADA being American Disability Association, right? Compliant,
Hmm.
right? Now, that may be a legal requirement, which means now something like you can't just have a 12 font. You have to be able to click on something and have a 36 size font for
Hmm.
people that are seeing impaired. Or it may have to be able to click something and open up an audio file that it talks to them because they're blind, right?
Hmm.
So if you don't get the adjective before requirement correct all the time, don't sweat that. But what you should do to 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 make it to kind of show me that you know the difference, separate a functional requirement from a non-functional one and give the non-functional one an adjective. Generally, system, legal, administrative, something like that. Functional is what you're really super responsible for because that's what the client is hiring you for. The other stuff you have to provide, and he ends up paying for them, but it's not something that that he really cares about, other than you have to do it or else the software
Hmm.
can't be implemented. Uh, Another example would be like I did a truck tracking application through satellite for Canada. Well, there's a law that says in Canada everything you do has to be in both English and French.
Hmm.
So that becomes an administrative uh, requirement. Okay, did that
Yes, that
bore you?
answered my question. Thank you. That was very informative. Okay, so and then our last one is, do we need in the project out plan? I read a lot about how we needed like DFDs, like flow diagrams, and ERDs, entity relationship diagrams. Do we need to create those and put those in our project plan?
Yes,
Okay.
there's a in the project plan. The the when you say a project plan, that's that document template. There is a place for your design. Now, whether
Okay.
or not you choose to do ERDs, flowcharts, uh, you got to do a topology because that's one of the requirements. Whatever you need to clearly articulate the design of your application, and you think in terms of what would you hand a bunch of entry level coders to implement your application. That's what you're doing as a software engineer in the real world.
Hmm.
The guys that really code it are not folks as sophisticated as you. They're entry level guys, 25 bucks an hour, maybe out of school, maybe no school at all, but they've got some coding background. So you've got to pretty much hand them something that spoon feeds them the design. You're telling them this is what you want you to implement.
Okay.
And what they bring to the table is knowledge of the language. They have no knowledge usually of software engineering methodologies, designs, or whatever. They'd be able to read the design, but chances are they'll be able to have designed it unless they're more senior than not, would be slim.
Hmm. Okay. I see. And that outline that you were talking about, is that the software engineering report one?
No, no, that's kind of that's really down to report three. If you read the submission for DevOps 3, I think it has the word topology in there.
I didn't see a report three. Should there be a report three in the doc sharing?
No, 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 not in doc sharing. I'm talking about in the submission order. No,
Oh, okay.
there's only one comprehensive report, and everything goes into that one document.
I see. And that's
Everything,
that's the what you posted. Okay.
everything you're going to do, everything you're going to submit is going to be an updated version of the same document. You're not going to submit multiple documents.
Okay.
So when you're ready to do the outline part, that's version one. When you're ready to do the second part, whatever that might be, like it might be the requirements, it might be part of the designs, whatever, that's version two. Whenever you're ready to add the topology as your DevOps, that's version three. Okay.
Okay.
And the other two things you got to do is submit versions of the actual executable, but you'll still be updating the document because there's test procedures, test reports, stuff that goes in there, requirements, traceability. So over time, that document becomes fuller and fuller.
Okay. I see. And so this software engineering report, is that this is like that's the final product that we should have, and then what we'll do to
It is the
begin.
only product. It's the beginning product and the final product. So don't get that confused.
Okay.
That's that format is the only thing going to be turning in. So turn it in incrementally,
Okay.
right? If you add stuff to it, just update the version number.
And then just keep turning it in every time we add more to it. So like right now we should be in the requirements part of this document.
Correct.
Okay. And that has use case diagrams. Okay. I see. And the traceability. Yep. Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay, cool. All right. Then yeah, that answers all my questions. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yeah, no
Oh,
problem, man. Have
sorry.
a good week.
I have one more. My bad. Um, for the data for the diagrams, use case diagrams. Do we need like diagrams like going as high level as just the overarching ideas, and then all the way down as detailed as like the actual like basic processes, or
Well, I'm going to answer it the same way, Lucas, and I'm not trying to be evasive. I'm just trying to. You need to decide if you're going to hand this thing to somebody, what level. A high level is always good because you can always use that for upper echelon because they don't care about the details. But you got to get at least to some level of detail. You got to decide. Your team decides how much or how little is either too much or not enough.
okay,
Okay. So I don't want to be dictating, well, you got to do a level three uh, document or a level four or whatever.
Okay.
Because some of those things would be unwieldy. You guys decide about how much you need to get the point across as to what it is you're trying to build,
Okay. All right.
and just be able to justify it in your document. Hey, we went to this level deep because because we were able to we would understand that this and this and this. We tie that in with our data dictionary. We have a flow chart that shows the algorithmic flow, and taken together, these three things give our coders sufficient information that they can develop the product, and we feel the reliability and accuracies that are needed.
Okay. Okay, great. That works out. Thanks.
All right, Lucas, take care.
Thank you now. You have a great day now. Bye.
You,
Thanks.
bye.
Now, ladies and gentlemen,